Chapter 26, Gringotts. So the plan is ready, everything is a-okay, and as they're getting the final things prepped, they've already let Bill and Floor know that they're going to leave, and they don't want them to see them off, because obviously they don't want them to know the plan. And also, that Hermione has to transform into Bellatrix just to be able to get in and part of the plan. So Hermione's gonna transform into Bellatrix. They're gonna disguise him, and then Harry and Griphook are gonna be under the invisibility cloak as they go in. And Hermione was trying to get used to the new wand because she has to use Bellatrix's wand, and she's talking about how much she hates it. And then Harry just remembers how hard it was to get used to his wand, and now that he has Malfoy's wand, and Malfoy's wand actually is responding well to him, he can't really feel bad for Hermione because she didn't help him at all when he had to use his new wands before he got Malfoy's wand. So he ain't gonna say nothing. And then Luna had got her new wand from Ollivander, so Hermione was kind of hoping maybe she could get one too. And since Dean doesn't have his wand either, he's just kind of had to watch from the background. So Harry could not sleep really the night before they left. He kind of feels opposite how he felt before they went into the ministry. So he's feeling more nervous, and maybe like because things could go wrong, and there's a lot of unknown on this mission. And as they get ready to go, they come outside, wake up in the morning, and then Hermione comes out looking like Bellatrix, and obviously not a good sign. And Hermione did point out that her wand, Bellatrix's wand, has done a lot of bad things, including killing Sirius, and this doesn't really help the situation. But so they apparate off to the Sleeky Cauldron, and right when they get there, people notice, the owner is like, "Oh, Mrs. Lestrange, how are you doing?" And she said, "Good morning." And then Harry's like reminding her, "You gotta be Bellatrix. You gotta be, nasty." So that when they go into the Diagon Alley, and then when they're going in, like a couple people like see her, and one person even tried to attack her, and they had no wand, and then Ron had to attack him. It kind of took her off guard. People were like pleading, asking, where they took their people and all that stuff. And as they get in, they run into a Death Eater. This is one of the Death Eaters that was there when one of the Death Eaters they've encountered. I think his name is Travers, one of the other Death Eaters. And so they kind of run into him, and he's like wondering why she's there. So they have to explain, come up with a reason. Because they're not supposed to be at the house. Everyone that was in that situation now, Malfoy's manor was on lockdown, and they also know that Bellatrix does not have her wand, so they have to kind of keep these things in check as they go on. And as they get into Gringotts, there's obviously extra security because they were, expecting someone maybe to try to break in, and Harry has to hit some of the guards a couple spells as they can't see him. So they get into Gringotts, and right when they're getting up to the place, the front, asks for identification. And this is where the mission kind of goes. It does not go well from here on. And they ask for identification. Hermione, being Bellatrix, is like, what identification? And then they're like, okay, your wand is okay. And the Gringotts goblins already know, because Griphook told Harry, they already know that Bellatrix lost her wand. So this is probably the point number one right here. And right before that, Harry hits the goblin with the Imperius Curse, like the puppeteer curse. And so he controls him, says, "Hey, okay, you can go on ahead." Then Travers is like, "Hold on." And then Harry hits Travers with the same spell, so then he has both of them under his command. And this is the first time he's ever done it, so it's a weird feeling for him to do this curse. And so they're going in. He takes control of the goblin they need to ride the cart to go down into the deeper levels of Gringotts. And he pulls Travers with him and takes off his cloak, because at this point they're under control, and they realize the mission is not going well, but they're in. That's what matters. They got in, so they get into the cart. Harry makes Travers hide, and then they go off. And right when they're going off, not too far on long, they get hit by water. But they realize this water takes off any charms or spells. So when they get hit by the water and they crash off the cart, off course. And then they look up, and Hermione looks like herself, and Ron looks like himself as well. And they're like, okay, we just got to find the vault and then look around and find whatever we're looking for. So as they're going down in the tunnels and everything, they see there's a dragon that's chained up, and Griphook explains that this dragon is just down there for intruders, and they have the dragon tamed. So basically, they've tortured this dragon enough to where if it hears a certain sound of like these chains or swords clanging together, then it retreats. So as I heard that sound, it retreated, and they went and found the vault, got in the vault, and then vault door opened and then closed behind them, and they started looking for things. And then once they knocked, I think it was Hermione first, knocked into something, and it fell down and instantly multiplied and started becoming really hot. So they're like, okay, don't touch anything. And then Ron knocked something over, and it multiplied, and the space that was around them was shrinking. Harry even knocked into something, and that multiplied and became very hot. So they were running out of room, and anticipation was just building up. And so they're looking for the Hufflepuff cup, the same one that Voldemort had seen back when he was looking for certain items in the alleyways. And then they see the cup, but it's really up high, so they can't really reach it. And Harry's like, okay, maybe if I use the sword to touch the cup, it won't multiply. So then he's like, wait, how do I get up here though? Hermione hits him with a spell to Levicorpus to make him float upside down, and this made him knock into a suit of armor, and that multiplied and fell down on top of them. And yeah, just chaos in this vault. And then Harry's able to put the sword in the cup, and as he does that, he did suspect Griphook of not being fully in the plan and really just wanting the sword, and his suspicions were confirmed because when he did that, and then he dropped the sword, which still had the cup on it, and then Griphook went and took the sword, knocked the cup away, and Harry was able to grab it, but when he grabbed it with his hand, it started multiplying and burning, but he didn't care. He held onto the cup, put it in his pocket, and then Griphook ran out of the vault, because at this point the alarms were raised. They knew an intruder was there once they got hit by the water. Goblins were outside, and then wizards were coming behind them. And so Harry had the cup. Griphook went out with the sword and ran out and just jumped in with the goblins and said, thieves, thieves. And then, yeah, he was just in the mix. They didn't even care. And at that point, Harry shot a spell at the chains on the dragon because the door had been opened. And they backed up the goblins a little bit with some spells, ran to the dragon. Harry said, follow me. They jumped on the dragon and dug their way up out of Gringotts. And they're on their way flying. Everything kind of went good and bad because now they've lost the sword, the only item that they know that can destroy the Horcrux, but they have the cup. So that's something. Now they need to get the sword back. So we'll see what happens next.